Hello, my name is Dwayne Dodson, and I am an assistant professor of English at Stark State College in North Canton, Ohio. I will be talking to you today about the WritePlacer essay exam. The WritePlacer test, the writing portion of the test, consists of two parts. One of them is grammar, and I've already provided a video about that. But then the other one is an essay test. And depending upon where you're being tested, you may be allowed different periods of time to complete that. I've seen anywhere from a half hour to 40 minutes to an hour to unlimited time. I don't know. It again depends upon where you're taking the test. Different localities can make their own decisions in terms of the amount of time that you're allotted for the test. But I would plan to spend about 30 minutes on the test. I would say you should be safe if you do that. All right, I'm going to be giving you some tips in a few minutes. I'll be sharing the screen, and there will be a website. The link will be at the bottom of the document that I'm sharing, so you'll be able to see that as I scroll to the bottom and replay that and go to the link. I won't be reviewing the whole thing, but I'll just be hitting a few important points that you want to keep in mind that will help you with the exam portion of the test, okay? I'll be sharing that link now. Okay, this is a guide that you can use. I've checked a number of different sites, and they all say about the same thing, and they provide some decent strategies and tips relative to the essay test. So we're going to be reviewing some of these. This is about, I guess, about 3 pages or so of information, and as I scroll to the bottom here, you can see the link that's available there. So you can go to that link and access this information after you watch the video. Okay, as I say here, the exam says that you will have 40 minutes, again, depending upon your locality or where you're taking the test. You may have a different amount of time, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Every place that I've checked, every site that I've checked has said that the test should be the exam itself should be 300 to 600 words in length. Very important to follow instructions. So make sure that, I would say, if you have between 500 and 600 words, you don't really want to go, even though it says 300 is your minimum, I would not write a test that's write an exam that's only 300 or even 350 words. I try to stay in the 500 to the 600 word range if you can. And then it asks for a 5-paragraph essay. Now, the typical 5-paragraph essay is set up in a very simple way. The introduction typically will provide your thesis or whatever your argument is. In this case, it will be a response to whatever prompt is provided to you. And then in the introduction, you will also provide 3 points of support for whatever your argument is. And then your second paragraph will deal with the first point of the support. Third paragraph would deal with the second support point, and then the fourth paragraph would deal with the third, and the fifth would be your conclusion. That's the format and the setup for the standard 5-paragraph or multi-paragraph essay, it's sometimes called. You will see here that you're given towards the second part of the document, you're given some different guidance as far as how to set this up. It really doesn't matter as long as in your introduction you state the prompt clearly and you provide your opinion clearly so that the reader understands what you're going to do as you move through your essay. Okay, so as we move here to the actual tips and strategies, then I'll hit some of these points for you. I'll review some important principles and tenets that you want to keep in mind. and then I'll finish up. And as I say, at the bottom of the document, you will see a link where you can access this on your own. And then there are several other sites as well that will provide you with similar tips and strategies, although they're all pretty much the same. Okay, the first thing here, first bullet point, the WritePlacer exam will not require any outside knowledge, so you don't have to worry about reading the paper or, listening to the news or anything like that. The test is designed to allow you to use your general knowledge and your general intelligence in order to write a decent, cogent essay, so you don't have to worry about preparing in terms of content. Second bullet point, and this is important, select one side only. That means you don't want to equivocate, or you don't want to vacillate, go back and forth, go from one side to the other. It is important to know and to be able to articulate the other side of your argument, as you'll see later on. But you want to make sure that in your introduction, your reader understands the point that you're trying to make, the argument that you're advancing, and you want to stay focused on that throughout your essay. Okay, the second bullet point here, remember that you will not be scored on your opinion. Sometimes in my classes, my students will ask me, we'll be having a discussion, my students will ask me, well, Professor Dotson, what's your opinion on this issue? I tell them my opinion does not matter. Why? Because I do not want to read 20 essays that regurgitate the opinion of the instructor. And the other point is that regardless of your opinion on an issue, if you articulate it well and support it and express it well, then the opinion should not make any difference. So the whole idea is to make sure that you read your prompt carefully, take a little bit of time, develop an opinion that you can support and articulate well, and then you stick with that throughout. So don't worry about having an opinion that may be unpopular or an opinion that may not may not follow the consensus. Choose an opinion that you can support and move on through it that way. And then don't change your position mid-essay. I had a student actually this past semester who told me that he was doing a research paper, and he said that part way through the research paper, his research prompted him to change his opinion on the topic. And I said, well, that's fine, you can change your opinion, but you want to express the opposite opinion at some point in an essay in terms of using that as reinforcement for your own opinion. And we'll talk about that. That's called a counter argument, or an antithesis actually. But I said what you don't want to do is start your essay by advancing one opinion and then change that opinion midway through, because you're confusing the reader and you're coming off as indecisive and wishy-washy, which you don't want to do. So stick with your opinion. Even if you express an opposing opinion, there's a way you do that. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute or so. But you want to stay focused on your opinion. Your whole goal is to express an opinion, follow the prompt, prove it throughout. Okay, the next bullet point here, no example is too specific. Examples are important. What do examples do? They support your thesis. And that's the idea. Examples, analogies, details, all of those are support elements. You can use your personal experience, names, dates, places, that types of things, concrete details. You want to try to do everything you can to prove your point, and examples go a long way in terms of doing that. So the best way to come up with an example is when you are preparing for your to write your essay. See if you can think of an example that will help to prove your point, and use that if you can. And then here is what we were talking about before, the other bullet point, incorporating the opposing side. That again is called an antithesis, the opposite of a thesis, or a counter argument. As it says here, a great way to strengthen your own argument is to acknowledge that there is in fact complexity to the issue. And you will find that the prompts that you are given will provide you with an opportunity to present an opposing side. What does that do? It shows that you are aware that there is another perspective different from your own, and you have taken that into consideration, which means that you have intellectual credibility. But as it says here, however, if you bring up and describe the opposing side, make sure to criticize it effectively and reiterate that your side is the only one that is valid. So why are you presenting that opposing side? You are presenting that to show that you do have intellectual credibility in terms of being able to provide an opposing point of view, but at the same time, you are not moving towards that point of view. You're actually providing that opposing point of view to refute it, or to show that you have thought about it, but in spite of that opposing point of view, you are holding your own intellectual place. You are staying with your initial argument. So that's very important, that opposing side. Keep the introduction and conclusion brief. That's important. I talked to you earlier on about the importance of the introduction, maybe 3 to 4 or 5 sentences, something like that for your intro. Perhaps the same, maybe a little bit more for your conclusion. Obviously, the body of your paper should be the longest portion. Essentially, in the introduction, as I said earlier, you're going to present your ideas to the reader. There are a number of different ways you can open your paper. You can use a quote, you can use an important statistic, an important fact, something like that, something to engage the reader, but it should not be any more than 4 or 5, 6 sentences at the most, I would say. And the majority of your essay, of course, is going to be the body, wherein you flesh out your position, your point of view, move on through that, provide supporting details, that type of thing, and then finish up with your conclusion. And then the rest of this provides you with some tips. Transition words are important. Words like however, nevertheless, at the same time. You will see at the bottom of the essay here, the bottom of the document, this is a list of transitions. It is not a comprehensive list by any stretch of the imagination. There are many more, but these are some to familiarize yourself with. Chances are you've already used some of these in your essays and your earlier writing examples. Of course, they are categorized, and there are a number of different many other categories that aren't included here, but transitions help with flow. They're like bridge elements or tools that connect one idea to the other. The template, the WritePlacer template that's here on the next page here, provides you with another option. I'm not going to do it, but another option in terms of beginning and moving through the different paragraphs of your exam. You can read that on your own. You want to decide what works best for you in terms of writing this exam, but the most important thing to remember about it in terms of content is that you need to have a solid point of view. You certainly need to follow the thesis or the prompt. Have a solid argument, defend that argument, and try to do that articulately, try to do that well, and then you want to conclude. Remember, you've got, I'd say about, now at the beginning here it says 300 to 600 words. Typically they're about 250 words per page. So we're talking about 3 pages just in terms of length, 3 typewritten pages or so in terms of length. And you want to make sure that you stay within those parameters. As far as the content goes, as I say, as long as you provide a solid opinion and good support for that opinion, you're going to be good. The other thing that I will say to you is you want to be careful about your presentation. You are going to be scored on the basis of not just your argument and how you defend that argument, but you're also going to be scored, as it says here in the introduction, on focus, which is just staying with your thesis, development and support, sentence structure, and mechanical conventions. So sentence structure, mechanical conventions, that has to do with presentation, grammar, spelling, making sure that you use standard English, that type of thing. So you want to be very careful about that. There are all kinds of sample essays that are available online that you can research, but here again is the link for this particular document, which is only one of several. Okay, so Take that information, use it as you will. Now, as I say, it might make sense for you to check ahead. Maybe you can find out how much time you will have for your essay. And the other idea is that since you're dealing with COVID, chances are you'll be taking this, maybe taking this from home. Um, different localities will handle this differently. So I would prepare by calling ahead, finding out what your venue is going to be, whether you are going to be doing it from home or what the situation is going to be, and trying to accommodate that as best you can. Okay, I think that ought to do it. I wish you the best of luck on your test, and take care.